Hello again. This is Ted Brown, and I'm happy to join you today. Andy and I are going to be talking about steps to a fall campaign.
And I'm Andy Lunt, and it's good to be with you again. I'm a retired United Methodist pastor who's spent a lot of time with you over the course of this FLA, and I'm grateful to be with you again today as well. We are in the midst of fall now, and some of you are probably well into a fall campaign, but for the rest of this year and for future years, we hope that this will be helpful. And we're drawing today on some of the things that you've heard before, in particular from Cliff Christopher, as we look at the difference between rich church and poor church. And it has to do with a lot more than money, as you'll see. In a rich church, the stewards are the ones who lead. That is, people who give and who support the church with their prayers, presence, gifts, and service are the ones who lead. Whereas in a poor church, the church lives on its reputation, whatever that has been that's held it up in the past. A big difference, and this is one that I especially like to emphasize as a retired pastor. In a rich church, the pastor leads from facts. That is, the pastor knows who gives what, or at least knows the top donors. In a poor church, the pastor leads from hope, and you may remember some of the stories Cliff told of people of pastors who thought that they knew who the big givers were and tapped them to lead a campaign and then discovered that they were not really leaders at all. So encouragement to know who your top givers are, and then to allow them to be the leaders along with you in the campaign. So in a rich church, worship is a big factor. When we talk about people supporting the church with their prayers, presence, gift, service, and witness, worship is right there at the top with presence. And so in a rich church, stewards, members of the congregation, disciples are regular in worship, frequent in worship, whereas in a poor church, that is not the case once a year or the Christmas and Easter times. The offering is a significant difference. In a rich church, it's a time of worship. It continues the worship experience. It's framed as an opportunity to express our gratitude to God, and it is surrounded with some kind of witness by the pastor or someone else of what your giving can accomplish in mission and ministry. In a poor church, it's just a time for a musical interlude while people catch their breath and pull their things together and get ready to leave. In a rich church, the pastor models stewardship. That means that the pastor models it by being involved in mission and in service projects and in sharing the pastor's family's own giving. My policy has always been to say to people, I know what you give, you know what I give. We don't hide anything. In a poor church, the pastors hide their personal stewardship. Maybe they're not proud of it. Maybe they're still growing. If they're still growing, that's okay. Model and say we're growing. In a rich church, the pastors are not afraid to preach stewardship. I've often been quoted as saying, you can give me any passage of scripture in the New Testament and I can turn it into a stewardship sermon, because stewardship is about giving ourselves, body, mind, spirit, and all that we have to God. Pastors in a poor church will preach about stewardship once a year if they absolutely have to, but we'll try to avoid it. And then in a rich church, worship reflects all of this. Worship is alive and vibrant and relevant, and it makes a difference in people's lives, and they're anxious to come knowing that it will sustain them and help them grow as disciples. In a poor church, worship is really an obligation. People come because they've always come, and they feel better if they do check off that box in their weekly to-do list. So some of the differences that we can be reminded of between a rich church and a poor church. Ted?
Well, as you are entering into the fall campaign, it's really important to be transparent. So acknowledge the impact of 2020 on giving and expenses, and prepare and present a narrative budget for 2021. Tawanda talked to you a few days ago about a narrative budget and how it generates memories and potential in the future. And line up lay people to give testimonies about how faith in God has changed their lives, and try to do a testimonial every week. And emphasize how people's lives can be changed if giving were 25% above the 2020 level. In other words, think about the possibilities, think about those wildly important goals and the potential that you could tap given that additional giving, and help people see what that might be able to be. And as Andy has said, you know who the top donors are. either generally or specifically. And you need to contact those top donors in your congregation and give them a very personal thank you and tell them how their giving is changing people's lives. So our challenge for you and the action plan in the upcoming days is to go ahead and contact those top donors in your congregation. And again, with a genuine thank you and realize, help them understand the impact their giving has on changing people's lives. Thanks and have a great day.